Hey everyone, and welcome to 121 Movie News. I am Peter, that is Connor, and every second week we get together and we talk about box office news. We talk about movies in development, we talk about premiere dates, we talk about horror movies, comic book movies, and blockbusters and everything in between. So that's what we do.
Basically, we talk about whatever Pete deems interesting when he looks through the events of the last 2 weeks. I have no say in it.
You can bring stuff.
I could, but
Especially from the first of the 2 weeks, which is always the least thoroughly researched one out of the two.
yeah, I bet it is.
I read a lot of news this week.
I think you should go through the effort of, even on the weeks we're not doing it, go through and make the news, and then you could just combine them.
Oh, that's an idea. Hey, there's an argument to be made that every day I should just do TV and movie news every day, so it's just a small chunk each day, and it just adds up.
Yeah, why don't you? God, you're so unorganized.
I don't know why I don't. I just never occurred to me. All right.
Well, it has now.
Because every time I try to, I'm like, you know what? I could just wait and do it like I always do it.
You're a terrible person.
So yeah, there was a lot of news coming out this past week or so from the Cannes Film Festival. There's a lot of movies in development getting bought up and announced and all that kind of thing. So there's a bunch of movies. We have a pretty impressive schedule from Disney for the next couple of years to dissect, and some other stuff to do. So as always, we will start with the weekend's box office, because we're every 2 weeks. We do guesses for the next 2 weeks, then we look at the results, and then we'll make guesses for the next 2 weeks. That's how it's going to go. So first weekend we're looking at, of course, is May 3rd to the 5th, and this was the second weekend for Avengers Endgame, so obviously it came out at number one. We guessed as such.
Well, there was nothing else against it anyway, so...
Well, that's not entirely true.
There was nothing else.
So I guess 200 million, which was very pie in the sky, admittedly, but it was already doing insane things that I thought, I'll just go for a long shot.
I think I went 150.
You did 150, and I actually came in at 147. So
that's pretty good.
So you won. I mean, it makes sense that it was going to have a big drop off because the opening was so huge, and they were doing 24-hour screenings that first weekend.
It was just how much of a drop off, right?
The fact that
150 odd is still phenomenal.
Oh yeah, the fact that 147 million is a 58% drop off is insane.
Yeah,
that's insane. So, like, the movies, obviously we'll talk about what the totals are at when we get to the news weekend, but 147 million second weekend, which I think is the second biggest second weekend of all time.
Yes. Domestically, I think.
Domestically, yes.
I think Force Awakens still beats it.
Yes. So that's the second weekend. Like I say, we'll look at worldwide totals when we get to the newer weekend. Number two was a new film, The Intruder, a horror film, which will be on streams after midnight at some point in the future when it hits home video. Because
didn't care enough about this one, did you?
Really not. Slacking. No, really not. So you guess 6 million for this. I guess 5 million. It actually a little bit better than what we were saying. It came in at 10.8 million.
So I win.
So you win, but amusingly, because it's funny actually, even the next couple of things still did better than what we would guess for that. Because Long Shot was number 3. That's the Seth Rogen, Charlize Theron romantic comedy. That came in at 9.7 million. Then 4 was Ugly Dolls with 8.6 million. That was also a new entry. And then 5 was Captain Marvel, and its 9th weekend with 4.2 million. Breakthrough was number 6 with 3.9 million. 7 was The Curse of La Llorona with 3.7 million. 8 was Shazam with 2.5 million. Number 9 was Dumbo with 1.5 million. And number 10 was Little with 1.4 million. So that was that weekend at the box office. And you're probably thinking to yourself, Hellboy had only been out for like 3 weeks at this point. Where's Hellboy?
Oh, it's dead.
I'm trying to find it. Hold on.
It's been a bit longer than 3 weeks, hasn't it? Been like 4, surely.
This was its 4th weekend. Okay, correction. It was its 4th weekend. Do you want to know where it placed on its 4th weekend?
21st.
Number 32.
I shot high.
With $68,000.
That is terrible.
It's garbage. It's absolute garbage.
That is just downright terrible.
No, Box Office Mojo's give me an error message, Hunt. I'll read it. Oh, it's still giving me an error message. Oh no, I'm glad
the show has fallen into chaos.
I'm glad I loaded the other weekend already.
Otherwise we'd be screwed.
Yeah,
what would we do?
I was going to look at the worldwide total for Hellboy, but it's not good. I'll just say that. So looking at this past weekend, then, which is the 10th to the 12th, we had Pokemon Detective Pikachu coming out at its big opening weekend, and I was adamant from weeks ago that it would not be number one, that it would come in at number two. And to be fair, Connor's guesses, I think,
I
also...
agreed, although I did say I hope to be wrong. Because I want Pikachu to do well.
I think everyone was kind of overestimating. Like, I know Pokemon's a big thing in the world, right? And people are like, oh, it's like one of the most valuable like multimedia brands that there is, and to an extent that's true. But I think what people forget maybe sometimes is that part of the reason why it's such a big multimedia brand is because everyone who likes it buys it every time.
Yeah, no, I think it is incredibly popular. I think Pokemon Go proved that when that came out on on mobiles, and it was everywhere. I think it's different translating that to film, especially live action, right? Because this isn't just like an adaptation of the games or anything like that. This is something totally different.
Yeah. So it did come out number two, which means Avengers Endgame was number one, and we guessed. You guessed 80 million. I guessed 85 million. And you get points again. Unfortunately, it came in at 63 million, which again a bit lower than what we were guessing. But again, we were going kind of high. We were. It was doing so many insane things that we couldn't help but want to.
Yeah, and we didn't know what the second week was going to be, so it was hard to kind of predict.
Yeah. So 63 million, that was a 57.1% drop from the second weekend. Theoretically, it should now stabilise and not be dropping as much because the amounts aren't as insanely big anymore.
Yeah, because that is quite a significant drop still.
Yeah, so 63.2 million. So if it'll load, and it might not, it did, we have the total worldwide now, as of its third weekend, is 2,489,000,000, which, for the record, does mean that it has went past Titanic and is on its way to Avatar.
By a reasonable margin.
By a reasonable margin. Well, here's the weird thing about Titanic, is I don't really like thinking about Titanic including its re-release numbers. Because that's the thing. Titanic, when it came out, made 1.8 billion, and that was insane at the time. And they kind of inflated it a little bit. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like that Star Wars didn't beat it because it got that extra boost. but I always like to think of 1.8 still being the number they have to pass to have beat Titanic. But it's beat the total now, including the re-release.
Yeah.
So
because if you take away that, I mean, that puts it at number 6 now. If you take away the re-release stuff.
Number 6, really? Is that low?
Yeah. Because you got you'd have Avatar, Endgame, Star Wars, Infinity War above it.
So that'd be number 5 then.
Yes. I forgot to take Titanic out of where I was putting it before. I just went down the list to where was the next one that was below 1.8 and didn't actually look at what that would be.
So yeah, 2.489 billion is insane, and it only needs 300 million to beat Avatar, which means it's pretty much locked in that it's doing it. So we have a new king.
Yeah,
we have a new king. So there you go. And Cameron put out a nice little post congratulating them.
Makes a change from some of his saltier comments in the past.
Joe, what I liked about the message though is that there was still just a tinge of that Cameron ego in the message, because he said that it took an iceberg to sink Titanic in 1917. It took the Avengers to sink my Titanic.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, just enough of the ego.
Let's see what he says after Avatar gets taken down.
Just so I know that it was really him. There's just enough of an ego that I know it's him that's saying that, and it's not some publicist, trying to.
Because at this point it's when, not if. Right?
It's when, yeah. I mean, the one thing, of course, that Avengers has going against it compared to what Avatar had at the time is that now every weekend has competition, and Avatar don't have that.
Yeah. Avatar had months on its own.
Pretty much. So that said, it's It's almost impossible for it not to cross Avatar at this point.
I would be genuinely shocked if it didn't. I would suspect this is going to hit the 3.
You think it'll scrape to 3?
I think it'll scrape there.
It might. So we're saying between 2.8 and 3 billion is kind of where we're expecting to end up. So
yeah,
there you go. That's Endgame's totals. But we got more to look at. So number 2 was Pokemon Detective Pikachu. Oh, I'm making noises.
I was probably overly ambitious with the guess.
You weren't that insane. You went with 65.
Oh, okay.
I think because I went to 52, I think you were like, I just have to be a higher and I'll win. So you didn't go nuts.
Yeah, I went enough that there's a gap, but I didn't go ridiculous, clearly.
Yeah, the actual amount was 54 million, so
you're going to have that one.
I took that one comfortably. Yeah. I
mean, I had the other 3.
You did. All right. I went a bit high on the numbers this time. Yeah. All right. How dare I? For some reason, we didn't guess The Hustle, even though we probably should have, but that was number 3. With 13 million. We
probably forgot it was coming out.
We probably did. Number 4 was The Intruder with 7.1 million. See, that was only 33% drop. That's what happens when you open at 10 million. Is you don't have to.
The drop looks respectable.
It does. Number 5 was Longshot with 6.2 million. Number 6 was a new entry called Palms with 5.3 million. Number 7 was Ugly Dolls with 4.1. Number 8 was Breakthrough with 2.5. Number 9 was Tolkien with 2.2 million. And number 10 was Curse of La Llorona with 1.8 million. Tolkien was a new entry for the record as well.
It's a little bit disappointing, I guess. Then it's not like it's a big flashy fancy movie, but
it's Fox Searchlight. That's probably in the realm of what they
just get
expect.
It out there.
Yeah. I could see that. So there you go. So that's that. And we'll look at what's coming up, and we can do some guesses for the next 2 weeks. So next weekend, or this coming weekend, is Friday the 17th. The big entry, of course, is John Wick, Chapter 3.
Yeah, which I have no baseline for what the previous ones did.
And then we also have... do we do a Dog's Journey? I don't know. I think Avengers Week 4 is more interesting.
No, Pokemon Week 2.
We can do Avengers Week 4 as well.
I don't care about Avengers Week 4 anymore. We don't guess past 3. Come on.
We're doing it's this big.
No, we don't.
These numbers are still interesting. It's still going to be like number 2 probably.
3 weeks is enough. Look, we've got to have a hard rule.
I'm guessing. You can bite me. All right. So what you did for John Wick?
Again, I've got no baseline. I don't know what to go. I mean, 25.
I'm going to go with 40.
Okay.
I may have seen what the second one did at the opening weekend earlier this week, so I have more of a range to work with.
Okay, yeah, I'm spitballing on a low key-ish action movie.
Yeah, Pokemon Week 2, mid 54. Any feelings?
Let's go 27.
27. I'm going 24. And Avengers Week 4, which I am going to guess for, I'm going to say 29.
I don't care. Just put whatever. Write down a number.
1. Okay.
So that's at least 1 million, yes?
1 million, yes.
Yeah.
I still think my chances are good. So the following weekend, we have Aladdin. We have Brightburn. And we'll just guess those 2, I think. They also have something called Booksmart out. It's a comedy. But I think Aladdin and Brightburn are interesting enough. What are you guessing for Aladdin?
I think it does better than Dumbo did. I don't recall what Dumbo did. I'm going to have a quick glance while I talk.
I don't recall it being super hot, but...
I don't either, but I just... Right, that was a soft 45. So I would expect higher than that. I think there is more anticipation for Aladdin than there was for Dumbo. I think there's more curiosity, at least, if nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it does amazing though, so we'll go 58.
This one's tough. Because I can honestly see this one getting some of that live action Disney kind of money, right? Maybe not as much as Lion King's going to get by any means, but. And I can also see it going the other way where people kind of.
Just don't care.
Yeah, just kind of turn on it a little bit because they just don't like how it looks, you know.
Yeah, that's what I think that happened with Dumbo. I think there's enough of a curiosity with Aladdin.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I could be completely wrong.
Because I don't know if I want to guess 57 or 59. Because it's either going to be higher or lower than yours. And I actually don't know.
Well, I mean, those are how it works.
Yeah, but I actually don't know which side. Because usually I am like, no, I'm pretty confident it's going to be this side of his number, right?
Yeah, and then you just be a dick.
Yeah, but with this one, I'm like, I don't really know.
You got a 50-50 chance of winning here.
I'll say 60.
All right.
Hey, it wasn't 59.
I don't know who's going to win that one.
Not do I. Because I could totally see this doing like 80 or something with that.
Yeah, but also it could just go down there with Dumbo and hit, 40-45.
All right, Brightburn.
I don't think this does too much. I'm looking at like 18.
That's actually higher than I would have thought you were going to say. I'm going to say 12.
No, fair enough. I feel like maybe it had a strong first trailer and there was a lot of buzz at that point. Maybe there's enough to just get it up there, but I don't think it does anything like huge.
No, I think it's going to be closer to 10 than 20.
That's fair.
But hey, all right, there you go. Box office done for another pair of weeks. So we'll see how right we were, or indeed how wrong we were.
More
in 2
likely,
weeks' time.
yeah.
Yes, and then when we come back next time, we get a guess for Godzilla. That's going to be fun.
Yeah. It's a better movie than all the ones we just said as well, hopefully.
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it in my veins. So we'll move on to the actual news, and starting with some comic book movie news. First up, not a lot of comic book movie news, bizarrely, this week, even though there's a lot of everything else. The Eternals, which is one of the Marvel movies coming up, the MCU, they're looking at Richard Madden to join that cast. They've already got Angelina Jolie and Camille Nanjiani, and they've got Chloe Zhao directing it. So Richard Madden was in Game of Thrones. He was in The Bodyguard, if people seen that.
Yeah, that was very popular recently.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Also, speaking of Disney live action films, he was Prince Charming in Cinderella.
Oh, was he? Did he keep his accent for that?
No, I think he did the Englishy one that he had on Game of Thrones.
One, okay. Cause I've never actually seen him do an accent. Everything, because I saw him in an episode of Philip K. Dick's Electric Dreams.
Yes.
And he was full like hard-boiled detective, but Scottish in that. And
yeah,
then,
he was in Bodyguard.
Yeah, I only saw a clip of Bodyguard, but yeah, he was Scottish when I saw him. But
yeah, you saw at least some Game of Thrones, didn't you?
Was he in the first season?
Yeah, he was around.
I don't remember him.
I mean, he was younger then, obviously, but yeah, he was around in the first season.
I remember Sean Bean.
Yeah, I mean, sure, just fine. Whatever.
Dinklage, like I remember.
You remember the big guys, and the little guys as well, obviously.
And Dragon Face, her, one with the dragons.
Daenerys.
I thought it was Daenerys.
That doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Some people say one. Honestly, even the show is inconsistent on names. Like Arya, they started off saying Arya, and then by the end it's just Arya. So they just change their minds.
Okay. So this is a Jack Kirby comic from the 70s. This is based on. Madden will play Icarus, a member of the human offshoot Eternals race. Just to sort of remind you what this is, because I mean I don't know what it is. Every time I read this, I'm like, oh yeah, this is what
I think this is the first article that when we spoke about it mentioned it was a Kirby thing.
Maybe true.
Because I didn't know that until now, because I'm so unfamiliar with this, and I'm immediately slightly more interested.
The Eternal centers on the superpowered near-god beings, the Celestials, and their villainous adversaries, the Deviants, in a war set millions of years ago. The Celestials experimented on humans, creating both races of immortal spin-offs. The Eternals also battled with Greek, Roman, and Norse deities before leaving Earth to explore the stars.
That sounds suspiciously like some new gods and old gods.
Well, it's Kirby, I mean.
Yes.
So, so are we thinking the movie will be set in the past, or do you think it'll be more like here they are coming in back from space just now, and we'll get maybe some of this backstory and prologue and stuff?
The latter.
Yeah, I think so. I think I prefer that as well. I don't know if I want a whole movie doing all this shit.
I think I'd be more interested in that personally.
You would, but
something, but just I think just to be different, right? It'd be something very different, and I think that would be more interesting. But it's sure. I think the safer option is we'll just prologue.
Yeah. So yeah, and then the other bit coming about movie news, which has actually turned out to be not news, is
so I don't know why we're talking about it.
Well, because it was interesting. It was Michael Rooker was in talks to be King Shark in the Suicide Squad. James Gunn's
It was
Suicide
interesting until Rooker went, nah, that's bullshit.
Yes, he's just saying that's not true, and I'm like, okay. I was all on board though. I like the idea, but whatever.
Yeah, it would have been great, but I mean, and and usually when these things are, all the rumors are there, they just like, oh well, I can't say anything, yes or no. If they just outright say no, it's usually not true.
Unless he's just playing a different character, so he's been kind of sly. He's like,
could be.
I don't know. Yeah, he's been in like a lot of things James Gunn has made though, so it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up in it somehow. Whether it's King Shark or otherwise.
He'll likely be in there somewhere in at least a bit part.
Yeah. So we'll see. But that'll take us on to the Blockbuster, the general news, and first thing we're going to look at is we're going to look at the Disney Fox schedule for the next 8 years. Now, to be fair, the last 5 are only like one movie a year, so it's fine. But I've got a nice handy list here. And you can tell this was a week old because the first one here's Tolkien on May 10th from Fox Searchlight. Next up, we have Aladdin. Now, this first list, of course, is just going to be things coming up this year, so I'll go through this pretty quickly. Not a whole lot to add to this, but we got Aladdin on May 24th. Get Dark Phoenix from obviously the Fox division on June 7th, which, by the way,
that's June?
That's June, yeah.
I assumed that was in like November.
It's a week after Godzilla.
Godzilla will take it down.
Nothing would delight me more than Godzilla's second weekend beating Dark Phoenix. Nothing would delight me more.
That would be glorious, wouldn't it?
What's interesting though is there was a new trailer today, and it was a really pathetic trailer.
I'm shocked.
But no, it reeks of desperation because it's mostly clips of like the old movies, and it's like here's clips of X-Men 1. It's like 20 years ago. This saga begun, and it's all this kind of stuff, and it's like clips of like Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, and like you're just trying your best to like missell this movie.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. But yeah, so that's coming June 7th. They just want to shut that out there. Toy Story 4 is coming June 21st. Stuber is coming from Fox on July 12th. That's Camille Nanjiani.
No idea what that is.
He's like an Uber driver, but he ends. It's kind of like a comedy version of Collateral, and he's the Uber driver that ends up with. I want to say it's Jamie Foxx, who's the badass in the back seat. No, I'm thinking of Collateral, because he's the driver in Collateral.
No, it's Dave Bautista.
It's Bautista. Yes, that sounds great. That's maybe fun.
Yeah, I actually remember this one. About this one. I think we saw a trailer for this a while back.
There was a trailer, yeah. And then we got, so that's July 12th. July 19th is Lion King from Disney. And then Fox have got The Art of Racing in the Rain on August 9th.
What the hell is that?
No idea. So it sounds Oscar baity to me. Ready or Not from Fox Searchlight on August 23rd.
That last one, that's the one told from the dog's point of view.
Okay. Ad Astra's coming from Fox on September 20th. That's a sci-fi movie. We have The Woman in the Window from Fox on October 4th. This is their attempt at their thriller this year. So will it be more of a Gone Girl or more of a Snowman? We'll find out. Well, Snowman, what was the other one they did? Snowman and not that Fox did it, but
Woman on the Train.
Girl on the Train. Yeah,
Girl on the Train.
That was it.
Sure.
That's
how forgettable that one was.
Yeah. So that's coming October 4th. And October 18th from Disney, you have Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. So we get a Maleficent sequel. What I think is interesting is obviously right now they're still very separate, isn't there's a Fox division and the main Disney division.
Yeah, because they're all made already.
Yeah, I wonder if that'll hold forever, or if they'll eventually just kind of, they'll Will they rebrand Fox to Fox Disney, or is it just going to, or are they going to genuinely just keep it to be Fox and you make your own movies? You're just making us money now.
I think they keep it as Fox, quote unquote, in the sense that they don't rebrand it, they don't rename it, but I think they put someone in at the top with a bit more oversight. And
sure, obviously they're going to be more controlling. I wonder if it'll be a case of like they'll let Fox be their R-rated studio. Like if they're doing like R-rated stuff, they'll be like, so Alien and Predator will still be Fox because they still want them to be R-rated. They won't just
Alien Predator. I think they'll keep pumping out the comedies.
Sure.
Because Disney don't really do those.
Nah, that makes sense. You got a bit of a brand thing there. So then on November 15th, from Fox, you got Ford v Ferrari, which actually could be Oscar bait. Not in a bad way.
I'm looking forward to that one. It's a great story. And that's James Mangold as well. So
yep, I do like him as a director. You got Frozen 2 on November 22nd. You got Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker on December 20th. And then you got Spies in Disguise from Fox on Christmas Day, December 25th. So
Disney got this and went, yeah, we don't care about this one. Just shit it out.
Just shit it out, yes. So yeah, nothing surprising there. Really. That's what's coming up. Obviously, 2020, because we're now halfway through 2019, is also pretty packed. I mean, obviously, everything here is subject to change. They might move things around, but right now, this is the plan. So starting off in January, we've got Underwater from Fox. I'm going to guess that's a horror movie.
It's a action thriller. A crew of underwater researchers were scrambled to safety after an earthquake devastates a subterranean lab.
All right, so it's like a thriller disaster.
Thriller disaster movie.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Then on February 14th, Valentine's Day, we have the Untitled Kingsman prequel sequel thingamajig.
That's what they're giving the Valentine slot to. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. I've noticed that in the last kind of 5 years, so there has been this shift towards let's do the fun actiony popcorny movie on Valentine's.
I think it's because they realise that people go on dates on Valentine's Day don't necessarily want to see a shitty rom-com.
It's true, because obviously that used to be, okay, that's what you get on Valentine's Day, right?
Yeah.
But did they start with Deadpool? Did they kick off this trend?
They may have done, yeah. And they had fun with it, because they like did posters that made it look like a romantic dramedy about cancer.
It's the first big one that I remember taking that slot, and I feel like most years since that's someone's kind of got in there with it.
At this point, if they're just treating it like, no, holidays do big business, it doesn't matter that it's the Valentine's holiday, it just matters that it's a holiday.
Could be, yeah.
Then you got on February 21st from Fox as well, you have Call of the Wild. March 6th you have Onward, that's Disney. Then Disney again, March 27th you have Mulan, that's the live action remake. Then April 3rd, and this one's notable because on April 3rd from Fox we have The New Mutants, and eagle-eyed viewers and listeners might be aware that until this list came out, this was actually still slated for August this year. This list coming out from Disney Fox was a confirmation that it has been pushed yet again. And the second bit of interesting just trivia here is that this puts it not quite to the day necessarily, but to the month, exactly 2 years from its original release date, which it did have trailers playing in theaters for at the time, because I remember getting trailers for it.
Yeah, that's weird.
So...
No. I was just looking, so Onward is the new Pixar movie.
Ah, okay. That sounds right. So New Mutants, I mean, will they actually do the reshoots? And at this point, like, I have to imagine, like, some of that, because the cast were all meant to be teenagers, all of them must look like 30 now. Like, they've waited too long.
That might have been a little bit harsh on some of them.
I'm just joking, but you know what I mean, like
just bitter, yeah.
What's her face? Arya, like, she was pretty young, presumably, when they made this.
Yeah, she's what, like 21, 22 now?
So she'd have been 17, 18 when they shot this.
Yeah, maybe 19 at a push, depending on how late they were shooting.
Given how advanced they usually shoot these big budget movies, I'm going to assume.
Generally, I would agree, but with this one, I don't know if they were treating it a bit lower budget.
So we'll see what happens, but they've slated it for April 3rd, which is weird because we've got the Disney Fox deal and we still have a Fox X-Men movie technically coming out in 2020.
Allegedly.
Although notably, Gambit was officially scrubbed from the schedule with this list.
I'm still not convinced this one will happen, even by April next year.
I wonder if it's just a case of, like... I honestly wonder if the reason why they have to release it in some form is because, like, maybe some of the actors' contracts kind of pushed them to do it. Like, Like,
yeah, but is this one of those where they have to release it in some form, but there is no actual date that they have to release it by? So this will just be always on their schedule, getting bumped back.
oh yeah, maybe that's true. I just wonder if like some actors in their clauses of like, oh, they're guaranteed publicity from this. So and for there to be publicity, there has to be.
It has to come out. Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm just spitballing. Next up on May 1st, we have an Untitled Marvel movie. So this is interesting that Marvel have still not told us what their Phase 4 slate are, and all the dates are here. We're going to tell you all the dates for all of them.
Yeah. I believe there was a thing saying they would be announcing them all this summer.
That's cool. And we can make some guesses for a lot of them. Maybe at the end of this list, I'll do a quick, rapid fire. Here's the 10 I think will be in there. But because honestly, about half of them are actually quite easy to guess. But it's just a case of what order they're going to be. So that's May 1st, and then May 29th you have Artemis Fowl, which was moved because that was originally the end of this year, from Disney. And then we have an Entitled Pixar movie coming on June 19th, 2020. And then on July 3rd we have Free Guy, which is a Fox movie. And then on July 17th, we have Bob's Burgers, the movie from Fox. So that's the thing. On July...
Which was cool, because I didn't realize it was getting a movie until this. So I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah. July 24th from Disney, we have Jungle Cruise. That's the Rock, right? Jungle Cruise?
I believe so, yes.
So he's doing that. Sort of adventure, action-y movie.
The Rock and Emily Blunt.
Yeah,
so
it's not bad.
That'll probably be fun.
August 14th from Disney, we have The One and Only Ivan.
I'm not sure what this is.
He's the one and only Ivan.
It's about a gorilla.
Oh, fair enough. Okay. We have Death in the Nile from Fox on October 9th. That's a sequel to Murder on the Orient Express. November 6th, we have the next Untitled Marvel movie, which is maybe the one notable thing here, is that in Phase 4, there's only 2 next year. They're back to 2 for 1 year, and then it's 3 a year after that. So it's just May and November next year. We have Runs Gone Wrong, November 6th as well, also from Disney. Interesting they're putting 2 movies out that day.
Yeah, I'm just reading what that one is. That's their actual Disney animated movie.
Okay. We have Untitled Disney Animation on November 25th, 2020. We have Steven Spielberg's remake of West Side Story from Fox and Amblin on December 18th, 2020. And then we have Cruella, the live-action Cruella de Vil movie, on December 23rd. Notably, this is the only year out of all of these years where the big Christmas movie from Disney is not either a Star Wars or an Avatar.
Yes, this one sticks out a little bit, doesn't it?
It sticks out because they didn't have the big sci-fi franchises ready for that year. I think originally Avatar 2 was supposed to be that year, so it's technically been pushed back 1 year. Although, yes. I think the schedule now is better than it was before. Because before it was like, they were doing like 2 and 3 like years back to back, and then there was maybe like 3 years off, and then 4 and 5 back to back. Now they're going to alternate years with Star Wars, which honestly...
It's just more consistent. It makes sense.
It's consistent.
Doing, yeah.
It also means they're kind of hoping that, like, they'll help each other almost. It's like, oh, it's Christmas time, it's big sci-fi movie time. We'll go see whatever's, So obviously we get to 2021. We have a lot of untitled things, but still worth just quickly rhyming these off. 2021, we have February 12th, Untitled Marvel movie, so MCU's February that year. Nimona from Fox on March 5th. March 12th, we have an Untitled Disney live action, and I love how that just means a live action remake of an animated movie. That's what it means.
Yeah, that used to mean, it could be Pirates of the Caribbean, right? Yeah, it could be any of their other things they've got. Could be one that every so often they just try one.
It just means that.
To be fair, they've got Jungle Cruise coming up.
True. May 5th, Untitled Marvel movie. May 28th, we have live action Disney movie again. June 18th, Untitled Pixar movie. July 9th, interesting, Untitled Indiana Jones movie. So Indiana Jones 5 is coming July 9th, 2021. This is really morbid to think about, but like, Harrison Ford's getting old now. Like,
I mean, yeah, how old is he? It's gotta be.
And I'm not saying he's going to drop dead by this date. I'm saying that, how realistically, how much longer can he keep making movies where he's Indiana Jones?
Yeah, he's 76 now. He will be 77 in a couple of months.
Yeah. So, because at some point he's going to want to have to rest, because he's an old man. He deserves his rest.
You say rest. What you mean is just fly planes on his own.
Yes, well, if that's what he wants to do with his time, that's his choice.
Which I believe he's not allowed to do at the minute because the insurance costs too much because he crashed.
July 30th, 2021, we have live action Disney. We have another live action Disney on October 8th. So there's a big gap there. So what's the betting? Because this is the thing. They'll have more in these years. These aren't everything they'll release in these years. This is just what they've got planned just now.
Notably, at this stage, most of this now is just from the Disney departments.
Yeah, that's true.
There is one exception coming up. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But mostly, I think it's like, well, we don't know what we're going to be doing with the Fox departments yet. It's anything that's not already in pre-production. We haven't even started thinking about.
Yeah, I wonder if that'll be like they'll just have smaller windows in that because it won't be big blockbusters. It'll be even something like a Predator doesn't have to be a blockbuster. It can be.
No, exactly. Yeah. You could easily between July and October there, you could have an Alien movie in there.
Yeah, easily. November 5th is the Untitled Marvel movie, so it's February, May, November for Marvel in 2021.
Which is the same as last year?
Well, they have two that they do. They either do February, May, July, or February, May, November. Those seem to be the two systems. So July is weird because that was last year because Ant-Man was July last year.
Ah, you're right, yeah.
So it feels like there's a big gap between the July one and the next February one if it's like that. But hey, and then we got Disney Animation, November 24th, and then of course Avatar 2 on December 17th, 2021. Which is funny now because all this fighting, who's the biggest at the box office, whoever wins, Disney do. So
yes,
because they're Disney on Avatar.
They don't give a shit.
2022 is very similar to 2021. We got Marvel movie February 18th, Pixar movie March 18th, Untitled Disney Marvel May 6th. Yeah, it's just a Marvel movie. Yeah, that's how they've all been worded. That's weird.
Okay. My list just says Untitled Disney live action movie on May 6th, but so does May 27th. So it's probably the Marvel one on May. Yeah, 6th.
May 27th live action. Pixar's June 17th, live action July 8th, Marvel July 29th. So that year it's going to be February, May, July. I don't know why they're switching between July and November, but they are. And then live action October 7th, live action November 4th, animation November 23rd, Star Wars December 16th. It just says Untitled Star Wars. There's
no word on what this is. The expectation is it's the start of one of the trilogies.
And the reason for that, of course, is because there's another Untitled Star Wars movie on 2024 and then another one in 2026, all on around the same date. So, and it seems like this Star Wars trilogy is basically going to sandwich in between the various Avatar movies because Avatar 3 is 2023, Avatar 4 is 2025, and Avatar 5 is 2027. It's weird to me that right now we are talking about a movie coming out in 2027. I turned 30 today. I will be 2 years from 40 by the time that movie comes out.
Oh, that makes me feel good. I mean, I'll be in my 30s, but I'll take it by then.
You'll be deep at your 30s by that point.
I would say deep.
Deep?
I don't think I will be.
33 is deep 30s.
I'm 24 now.
Yeah, but you still got a birthday this year, right?
That's true.
Alright, so shut up.
33 is not deep. That's early 30s still.
No, the argument here is not early or late 30s. Deep does not mean late.
No, deep into your 30s. You have to be at least in your mid-30s.
Deep is just you're definitely in your 30s. Now, you're not just touched into it. You're deep into them.
Yeah, that's mid-30s at the earliest. That's like 34 at the earliest. Is deep 30.
Oh, 1 year after your age. Yeah, that's convenient.
Yeah, it is convenient, isn't it?
Right. So that's a terrifying date. But other than that, yeah. So I mean, yeah, we've got Marvel movies. Obviously, there's going to be Marvel 2023 onwards as well, but they've just not dated those yet. So the real news here is the idea that we've got a Star Wars trilogy that they're having a gap first. It's not coming next year. It's taking a few years off.
3 years off, which sure we're gonna have other media from Star Wars in that time. Obviously, we know we've got TV shows come in, and so yeah, they can focus their efforts there for a little bit.
I would love to know. Because obviously they've revealed this now, but I would love to know internally what the roadmap was for Star Wars movies before Solo came out.
I don't know.
Because they have publicly admitted that they've rejigged and changed how quickly they're pumping them out.
I stand by Solo suffered from being 4 months after the last one instead of a year. I think Star Wars can quite happily sustain one per year. I do. I'd be shocked if it couldn't, frankly. But maybe not two per year, right?
I think it's equally the time it came out for the previous one. I think also conceptually, it's just one that wasn't as exciting to as many people.
That's fair, yeah.
But hey, so that's news. The Avatar date's just alternating years, starting 2021.
It's a new plan, but it makes more sense.
Makes sense.
I mean, sure, I could crack my obligatory joke that, oh, look, Avatar 2 got delayed again, which, yes, it did, technically.
But they've already finished shooting 2 and 3, so I'm pretty confident that they're making this date now.
Yeah. But I mean, obligatory joke because Avatar.
And then, I obviously the fact that the Marvel are doing the same thing again. They've got 2 movies in 2020, 3 in 2021, 3 in 2022. And if I was to guess kind of what these are, just to count them up here: Doctor Strange 2, Captain Marvel 2, Black Panther 2, The Eternals, Shang-Chi, Black Widow, Guardians Volume 3. And that's actually 7 of 8. If 7 of those are those 7, not only there's one left out of what's scheduled.
Yeah, you haven't included any new Avengers things there, which there's going to be at least one.
I don't think it'll be till the end of this, though. I mean, if any of these dates are going to be new Avengers, it'll be the last one.
That's fair, but I think that is probably one of them.
I could see it in another year, though. I could see them saying, no, let's have 4 years before the next Avengers title,
Yeah, they could do.
I could see that being 2023 if they really wanted to, but which would be 5 years, I suppose. Now I'm thinking about it. I could see that. It depends how many films they want to have in before this. And Feige did say that there was no plans for X-Men in the next 5 years, and to me that says the next phase is 5 years, and the X-Men will filter in.
Yeah,
after
probably.
That. So, we'll see. We'll see. Joe, as we're just on the Marvel movies, is because it's been going on now for like 11 years, is there's people who saw the first one as like a kid who is now like 20, and how it's been with them their whole lives, and I'm like, this is weird.
That is weird. It's unnatural.
Yeah, I mean, I was 2008. I was 19 when the first one came out. I was 19 when Iron Man came out. So.
That's old enough.
Yeah.
That was in my, mid-teens, I guess.
Yeah.
I can't be bothered working it out.
It's just kind of funny. Like, the franchise is now going this long that we have this thing now where some people, like, when we get to New Avengers, there'll be people who were like 5 when Iron Man came out that will be seeing the new one as like a 20-year-old kind of thing.
Yeah, like right now, you could have seen Endgame as a legal adult of 18 and have been 7.
When Iron Man came out.
Now, 7 is definitely, okay, that's impressionable still.
Oh, yeah. I think the scary part of that is being an adult the whole time, though, is that makes it feel like, holy shit, life's just flying by. Because I think to us, this time gap between Iron Man and Avengers Endgame has been pretty quick. It doesn't feel like it's been that long.
Yeah, I agree. Because, like I say, even mid-teens,
yeah.
By that point, it's not like childhood. It's impressionable at that point. It's just like, yeah, okay, it's there. You kind of got a grasp on time.
Yeah. Well, once you hit your 20s, your time basically just starts moving really quickly. Because I think when you're a kid, you're so excited or scared of certain things that everything feels like it takes forever.
Yeah.
Whereas when you get older, it's just like, oh no, I don't want to die. Slow down, time. Slow down.
It's just like, no. I just got home from work. What are you doing telling me I'm going to go back in already?
All right. We've got a lot of movie announcements to get through. And we're going to go through them fairly quickly. I'm going to read these descriptions, but we get through them.
Rapid fire. Let's do this.
Rapid fire, because I don't want this show to be extremely long.
Yes, we're on a time limit. Kind of.
Disney is reportedly developing a reboot to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, with Josh Gad attached to star, and he will be playing the adult version of Nick Zielinski. So it's a reboot, but it's kind of a soft reboot. It's in the
it's a pseudo sequel.
They're calling it Lega sequel, which I don't like that. That's a bit.
It could grow on me.
I don't know. I like soft reboot for this. But yeah, so it's going to be like the kid grown up who's now the scientist, and he's going to accidentally shrink his kids. But they're not going to call it Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, which I think is a mistake because I think that title sounds really distinct and sounds good. They're just going to call it, at least right now, Shrunk.
Yeah, I think it's less about it sounding good, is more people recognize that.
Mm-hmm.
If you see Shrunk, no one's necessarily going to go, oh, that's how Shrunk the Kids, right?
I think it does sound good though. To be fair, I think it's a title that sounds like it sounds. I don't know. It tells me something about the sense of humor the movie has, right?
Sure. I mean,
Shrunk tells me nothing.
It's better than Shrunk. I will give you that.
You know, I have seen all three Honey, I Shrunk the Kid movies. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves. As a child,
it's very bold of you.
I enjoyed them as a kid, especially the first one.
Yeah, I saw the first one. I went, I'm good. I don't need any more.
Fine. I don't know how much the first one holds up now. I expect the sequels probably don't hold up at all, but I don't know if the first one holds up as a fun adventure movie. But hey, that's that. Next up, Fast and the Furious. They're apparently developing a female-fronted spin-off with Charlize Theron attached to star in it. It's in development at Universal. Described as a plan to Avengerize the Fast and the Furious franchise. The prospective film will have Thorne reprise her role from The Fate and the Furious, the role of Cypher. In the 8th film, she was a cyber terrorist who blackmails Dominic, played by Vin Diesel, to work against his friends. Dominic eventually broke free of his deal with Cypher, but Theron's character escapes during the film's climax. I'm assuming she's still going to be the villain because she was like evil in that movie. Like she was properly the villain. So I expect she would be the villain to whoever the team of ladies would be. That would be the heroes.
Yeah. I mean, everyone else is doing the female version, so
sure.
Why not Fast and the Furious?
I say this every time this franchise comes out. I can't believe what this franchise has become.
I know.
Like between like the 7th or 8th movies having like The Rock like kick a missile on like the ice
over the ice. Yeah, that was in the trailer. I've seen that.
And then the trailer for Hobbs and Shaw, like the spin-off where it's basically a superhero film. Idris Elba has like superpowers.
Yeah, I saw a trailer for that again recently. It popped up, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this is a thing, and this looks ridiculous and kind of fun, and I'm kind of into it."
And again, this franchise started with stealing DVD players off the back of a truck. That was the plot of the first movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's
I've never made it past the first one myself.
Because the first one's a terrible movie. The second one's terrible. I never saw the third. Never saw the fourth. I hear the fifth one's where it started being the fun thing that it is. I've seen the sixth one onwards, but somehow. I should go back and watch the fifth one because it's supposed to be fun.
One day I will watch all of them over the space of a week.
All of them.
All of them.
You don't want to watch two.
No, I don't. But if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it properly.
Nah. I'd start with 5.
I can't do that.
Oh, it does not matter. It does not matter.
I can't do it.
That said, it did get confusing. I think it's the end of 6 where it kind of... Apparently 4, 5, and 6 are all set before 3, and then the end of 6 kind of ties them together, and I got really confused when I saw 6, because it was like, wait, what's happening at the end? What? I'm confused.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay, so next up, Mark Wahlberg and Jason Isaacs have both been cast in Scoob, the animated Scooby-Doo movie from director Tony Carvon.
That's not fair. You can't start with Mark Wahlberg and then give me a good news story for the rest of it.
Ups and downs, expectations, anticipation.
I was ready to say next when you said his name, and then the rest of it was like, oh, I like this.
Wahlberg will play Blue Falcon, a superhero from the Hanna-Barbera canon who teamed with Scooby-Doo and the Mystery Gang to fight one of his arch nemesis, Mr. Hyde. Blue Falcon's right hand was Dynamut, who was featured in an animated pick and is going to be voiced by Ken Jeong. Isaacs will... Oh, this is brilliant. Isaacs is going to play Dick Dastardly. Who is reported to be the main baddie in Scoob. Dick is a duplicitous car racer and pilot whose vehicles are known to carry various bombs and traps. He too has a right hand in the form of a dog, the scruffy giggler Muttley. That's my impression of Muttley. Dick appeared in such Hanna-Barbera series as Wacky Races and its spin-off Dastardly and Muttley in their flying machines. His infamous catchphrases include Drat, Drat, and Double Drat, Triple Drat, and Muttley, do something!
This is inspired casting.
I'm not going to lie, I'm excited for the Scooby-Doo movie.
I need to see this.
And I love
Dick. This coming?
I love Dick Dastardly. I'm going to guess next year.
Okay, cool. Dick Dastardly is a delightful villain. Yes,
Pulling his moustache.
It is literal mustache twirling.
It is.
Okay, this sounds fantastic.
Yeah, and it'll be a nice breath of fresh air after those live action movies that weren't very good.
Yeah,
Which starred Freddie Prinze Jr.
No, they didn't.
They did. They also starred
no one else.
What's her face from Avengers? Oh God, Hawkeye's wife. I forget her name.
I can't remember Hawkeye's wife because I haven't seen her in a while.
She played Velma. She's been in Freaks and Geeks. She's been in a bunch of stuff.
Okay,
Linda Cardinelli. Yes, nailed it.
Yeah.
So it starred Linda Cardinelli.
You look so proud of yourself.
Yeah. Rowan Atkinson was in that movie. Matthew Lillard, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and Sarah Michelle Gellar, who was also on the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I'm not gonna lie, you took the wind out of your whole thing a little bit there when you took so long to get one of the names that you were dancing around.
I think that enhanced it, quite frankly.
I think you are wrong.
You're allowed to be wrong. I don't mind. Besides, the sequel stars Seth Green, who also starred in the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. All right, next up, Chadwick Boseman has officially signed on to play Yasuke, the first African samurai to swing a sword in Japan. The film adaptation, the story of Yasuke, who served under Japanese warlord Oda Nobunaga in 16th century Japan. Yasuke was a native of Portuguese Mozambique who was brought to Japan as a slave to Jesuit missionaries. The first black man to set foot on Japanese soil, Yasuke's arrival aroused the interest of Nobunaga, a ruthless warlord seeking to unite the fractured country under his banner. A complex relationship developed between the two men as Yasuke earned Nobunaga's friendship, respect, and ultimately the honor, swords, and title of samurai. So we got Doug Miro writing the script. He co-created Narcos on Netflix. I'm not gonna lie, Chadwick Boseman being a samurai sounds kind of good.
I'm down. Yeah. Give this to a good cinematographer and I'm down.
Yeah, I could see this working. So that's cool. Next up, Chris Pine is taking the lead role in an action thriller called Violence of Action, which is the most generic title I think I've maybe ever heard. Not made by CBS. It's coming from Thunder Road Films and 30 West. Tariq Saleh will direct the film from a script by J.P. Davis. After being involuntarily discharged from the Marines, James Reed joins a paramilitary organization in order to support his family in the only way he knows how. Reed travels to Poland with his elite team on a Black Ops mission to investigate a mysterious threat. Barely into his first assignment, Reed finds himself alone and hunted in Eastern Europe, when he must fight to stay alive long enough to get home and uncover the true motives of those who betrayed him. Production starts this year.
That sounds as generic as the title, which I've already forgotten, because it was so generic.
Violence of Action.
Yes, that. Yeah, I'm good. I'll pass on this one.
Sounds like a direct-to-video movie, to be honest.
It does, yeah.
Next up, Annette Bening and Michelle Pfeiffer are boarding a film by director Gideon Raff. It's a thriller called Turn of Mind. It's an adaptation of Alice Laplante's New York Times bestseller. So Doug Wright's going to adapt the psychological thriller, which centers on a retired orthopedics doctor, played by Bening, suffering from Alzheimer's, who is trying to figure out, in her moments of clarity, if she killed the person the police claim she had, or is being deceived.
Sure, could be interesting.
There's more to this one, I think.
There's more to it, but I mean,
the concept.
Yeah, a lot of these like thrillers and crime mysteries, they all sound kind of generic on paper. It's all about the execution usually.
Yeah. Russell Crowe is going to start in an Unhinged, a psychological thriller. There's another one that will start production on July 15th in New Orleans. The film, which is the first film from Solstice Studios to go into production. It's directed by Derek Borte, who made American Dreamer, and written by Carl Ellsworth, who wrote Disturbia and Red Eye, which isn't great credits, to be honest.
Is it not? I didn't see either of them.
No, I saw both, and neither of them are terrible. They're just both really weak. But yeah, so it's coming sometime late 2020 is when they bring out with that. Unhinged takes an ordinary, everyday incident to its most terrifying conclusion, and telling the story of a mother who learns that who leans on her horn at the wrong time to the wrong guy, played by Russell Crowe. So this is basically the story of someone honking their horn at Russell Crowe in Russell Crowe Getting Dangerous.
I like Russell Crowe.
He gets mad. He's like, "What are you accusing me of?" And then,
yeah. I like Russell Crowe, but I mean, sure, whatever.
Let's see if we can actually get a reaction out of Connor for any of these.
Let's see if any of them are actually interesting, shall we then? Hey, I was positive about the samurai one with Boseman.
Sure. Robert De Niro, Tommy Lee Jones, and Morgan Freeman are going to unite in writer-director George Gallo's action comedy The Comeback Trail. De Niro will play Max Barber, a man in debt to a mob boss, played by Freeman, who creates an insurance fraud by casting a washed-up suicidal cowboy movie star, Duke Montana, played by Tommy Lee Jones, in a poorly written western with the intention of killing him in the first days of filming for the insurance money. Duke somehow rises to the occasion, redeems his past misdeeds, and brings Max and others along the same journey. So this is kind of like the producers, but you're trying to kill the cast member for the insurance.
Yeah. Could be fun.
The cast is good.
Yeah, the cast's good. This is down to the writing and the comedy of it.
It's actually based on an old movie, actually, a remake. Josh Posner's co-writing the script, which is based on the 1970s film of the same name. And it is directed and produced... that movie was directed and produced by Harry Hurwitz. So, I like the cast. It depends. Is it actually going to be funny? Is basically
that's the question, isn't it? Yeah, it's a fine premise, good cast, but it's all down to the writing, isn't it?
I kind of like the idea of Tommy Lee Jones playing the loser who redeems himself, because I feel like Tommy Lee Jones is typically always the hard ass who's very sure of himself. So this feels like a different role for him, which might be interesting.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, Connor just yawn halfway through my news as if it's all boring.
Oh yeah, because you never do.
Yeah, but I'm more animated the rest of the time at least.
Look, I am giving exactly what I need to give.
Simon Pegg and Lulu Wilson. Who's Lulu Wilson, you might ask? She is the youthful scream queen from both Annabelle Creation and Ouija Origin of Evil, and she was also in The Haunting of Hill House on Netflix. So she's going to be in this with Simon Pegg. It is an action thriller from Yale Productions and Boulder Light Pictures. The film will be directed by Bushwick. By Bushwick duo Jonathan Milo and Carrie Mournian. That makes more sense. I was like, who's Bushwick?
Yes, keep reading the sentence, you'll find out.
It's going to go to production this summer. The film centers on Becky, played by Wilson, a rebellious 13-year-old, which kids age fast, man. She was like 8, 2 movies ago. But she's a 13-year-old rebellious kid who is brought into a weekend getaway at a lake house by her father in an effort to reconnect after her mother's death. The trip takes a turn for the worse when a group of convicts on the run, led by the merciless Dominic, played by Simon Pegg, invades the lake house. Becky decides to take matters into her own hands.
See, this sounds like fun.
This sounds amazing. Whether or not, I don't know how dark it's going to get. Part of me is hoping this is going to be like a young kid version of Your Next. It's Your Next meets Home Alone. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I like when Sam Pegg gets to do menacing.
Oh yeah, he's a good villain.
Yeah, he doesn't do it enough, but he's good at it.
And to be fair to Lulu Wilson, I've liked her in everything I've seen her in so far.
I have not seen any of the things she's been in, so I have no opinion on her, but I will take your word on it.
She is the saviour of the horror genre, not Octavia Spencer and Luke Wilson. Luke Evans, not Luke Wilson.
Now that would have been a funnier movie.
Next up, Andrew Garfield is set to star opposite Jessica Chastain, well, Matt's on board, in a biopic called The Eyes of Tammy Faye, which is set up at Fox Searchlight. So Fox Searchlight are still setting up movies.
Okay.
Worth mentioning.
Well, that's something, yeah.
Michael Showalter is going to direct it. Chastain has been developing this project and will produce it alongside Kelly Carmichael through their Freckle Films banner. Abe Sylvia wrote the screenplay based on a 2000 documentary of the same name. It follows the redemption of televangelists Jim and Tammy Faye, Garfield and Chastain, who formed the world's largest religious broadcasting network. The two quickly fell into financial improprieties, scheming rivals, and sexual scandals that not only broke up their marriage but also brought down their empire.
Played with the right tones, could be fun.
Yeah, the cast is the most interesting part of this so far.
Yeah.
But it's the sort of thing where if this is a little bit quirky because of,
If you play this with like a tone not a million miles away from something like I, Tonya,
oh yeah, sure.
I can see this working.
Yeah. I can see that. So here's a question. Do you miss Mel Gibson being in movies?
I mean, I have very little opinion. I mean, I don't really care. I like some of the stuff he's directed. I don't really care about him as an actor.
Well, you're going to enjoy the next 3 news items then.
Oh, I don't dislike him as an actor. I should say. I mean, he's just kind of there. He's not on a draw.
Mel Gibson is signed on to play Santa Claus.
Okay, I'm definitely out on this one.
In a movie called Fat Man. It is a dark action comedy.
Of course it is.
Yeah, I know I said Santa and you're like, oh, I'm out because it's a Christmas movie. You might actually be more on board once you hear what the plot of this actually is. So this is for buyers that can. Production starting in Canada early next year. Fat Man centers on a rowdy, unorthodox Santa Claus, played by Gibson, who is fighting his business decline. Meanwhile, Billy, a neglected and precocious 12-year-old, hires a hitman to kill Santa after receiving a lump of coal in his stockings. It was written and will be directed by brothers Ian and Esham Nelms, whose credits include Small Town Crime, Waffle Street, and Lost in Purpose. Never heard of any of those. I feel like Lost in Purpose sounds like it's meant to be like a parody of Lost in Translation to me, but maybe I'm just reading into that too much. I like the plot. A kid hires a hitman because he's not happy with his present.
That does sound annoyingly fun. God damn it! and I had to say, I don't really care either way about Mel Gibson as an actor. I think that's a solid casting for that kind of Santa.
Oh sure, yeah. Next up, Mel Gibson and Kate Bosworth are going to star in Forces of Nature, an action film that Michael Polish will direct from a script by Corey Miller. This is a bit more what you'd expect to be like a cheap Mel Gibson movie, I suppose. Although it wasn't in a whole lot for a long time. Like I feel like
he had a long time off. Yeah. He's not directing any of these, is he?
No. Mainly, of course, because he had some personal, troubles.
Personal demons to deal with.
Yeah. Some bad publicity, shall we say, for a while. Force of Nature centers on a cop who must protect the remaining residents of a building in the midst of a hurricane evacuation, while violent criminals attempt to pull off a mysterious heist within the building. Gibson plays the stubborn retired detective who refuses to evacuate and fights back when the thieves show up at his doorstep. I mean, I like the premise of this as like a 90s action movie. Does this work in like 2020? I don't know. But I don't hate the premise.
It's generic, but I mean, it could be a fine time.
Yeah, like, this is the sort of thing where if it had the right style, had the right, like, this is the sort of action movie I could enjoy, but there's also the chance it'll just be this generic.
It's the sort of action movie where I can see myself watching on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
But I'd very rarely get excited about it. It's just, that'll do.
Yeah. And then next up, Shia LaBeouf and Mel Gibson have been attached to star in a dark satire called Rothschild about New York's super rich. Stan and Ollie director John S. Baird is on board to direct the film. The project, whose title puns the wealthy Rothschild group, charts how charismatic outcast Beckett Rothschild, played by LaBeouf, plots his way back into his family's riches, setting himself on a collision course with patriarch Whitelaw Rothschild, played by Gibson. Whitelaw Rothschild. That is a pompous rich dickhead if I ever heard one.
That's a hell of a name.
On the way, he must infiltrate the weird and twisted lives of his super rich kin, including frat boys, hipster artists, and reality TV stars.
I got less interesting.
Yeah. Do you know what's weird about this? Is that, to the credit of Mel Gibson's choices here, all 3 of these are very different. not one of them feels like the other one.
Yeah, it's not like, that's a Mel Gibson movie.
No.
On all of them. Right?
No, the middle one's the only one that's kind of a Mel Gibson movie, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But
yeah, he's allowed to do one of them.
Yeah, so that's just interesting. So yeah, there you go. There's your Mel Gibson slate.
Yeah. Well, let me know when he's directing something because that's more interesting.
Next up, Liam Neeson. Is this a Liam Neeson movie though? That's the question. He's going to be in a film called The Minuteman.
Could be.
It's an action thriller.
Okay, it is, yeah.
Directed by Robert Lorenz. the frequent Clint Eastwood collaborator, who has 3 Oscar nominations as a producer for American Sniper, Letters from Iwo Jima, and Mystic River. So he's directing though here. So this is going to start shooting in September. The Minuteman, which tells the fast-paced story of a retired Vietnam veteran who finds himself responsible for the life of a young boy who has been hunted by a cartel. Shades of the Protector character Neeson nailed in the 3 Taken films.
This is such a Neeson movie.
Yeah, this is so Neeson.
Yeah. I mean, some of them are still enjoyable.
They may as well just say he's the same character and just go with it.
Just go screw it. It's one giant franchise.
It's Taken 4. No, Taken 4 granted.
We've been over this before. Get over it. It's not happening. They're never using it.
They should. Except this time it wouldn't be his daughter, so it's not been taken for granted as such in the same way. But that was my pitch, is that it's the daughter's taken again, even though she's like 35. And that was the worst thing about that first Taken movie, is that they introduced his daughter's Maggie Grace, and we're told she's 16, and she's already been in Lost for years at that point, and I see her as like a 25-year-old at the youngest, and it was just like, no, she is not a 16-year-old girl. Stop pretending she is.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's still a decent movie though.
That's all right. Yeah, I love it. But it's fun.
I could still happily watch it right now.
Never saw sequels. Next up, Anthony Hopkins, Anson Mount, and Abby Cornish.
I like all of these names.
Are going to star in The Virtuoso, a noir thriller directed by Nick Stagliano. His production company Naz Productions are financing it. Written by James C. Wolfe with revisions by Stagliano himself, the story follows a professional assassin, played by Mount, who must track down and kill his latest target to satisfy an outstanding debt to his mentor, played by Hopkins. Unlike his other jobs, this assignment offers precious little information. He's given no name or photo, only that his target will be at a rustic diner in a dying town at 6 p.m. Bound by obligation, the Virtuoso embarks on a manhunt to find his prey and accomplish his mission. Any one of the patrons at the diner could be the mark. Even the enigmatic waitress, played by Cornish, who, even if she's not the prey, could prove to be a distraction that threatens to derail his task and endanger his life. I'm intrigued by this one.
I like the cast enough that they could be charismatic to pull this off.
I like the idea of him going to a diner, knowing that he has to kill someone, but not knowing who. And then the entire movie's like set at the diner is like he tries to
work it out.
Yeah. And I feel
it's kind of a reverse murder mystery.
Kind of. I could almost call the twist right now, or not the twist specifically, but whatever it is that Hopkins is trying to teach him a lesson or get him back for something, or like whoever it is going to be like, this is payback for like screwing me over or something.
Certainly. Yeah. It's the go-to standard ending to these, but that's fine if it's fun.
No, I like Mount, I like Hopkins, and I like Cornish. So, no, good. Next up, Zoic Studios, the VFX firm behind the newest Twilight Zone and the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, are adapting a fantasy novel called Solari, and it's them making a push into making their own content. They want to actually be a production company, not just a VFX company. The company has optioned the rights to a New York Times bestseller written by Michael Johnson for film and TV. The book, which is inspired by ancient Egyptian and Roman history and King Lear, was published in 2017 by Tor. Connor's eyes are brightening up as we speak.
I did get a little bit more interested, yeah.
The book, which is the first in a series of novels, follows the Solari, a godlike creatures who have ruled for thousands of years. However, no living person has seen the Solari for centuries. When a dark portent appears in the sky, it sets into motion a power struggle that weakens the Solari's control of their empire. A weak king is made emperor, enemies abound, he must face the dominion of his strange wife, the mother priestess of the cult of the sun, as well as their 3 children, the banished son, the overlooked daughter, and the power-hungry princess, all divided by their loyalties. Ruthless and a lust for the throne, all have the ability to save or destroy the empire and civilization. That got so specific about the roles of all these people that I just hated that description.
Overly specific as a description for this, but in general, I'm interested.
I'm good.
Sure. I knew you would be. Halfway through that, I was like, yeah.
I hate the sound of this. I hate it. Next up, Bruce Willis is set to star in Matt Eskandari's action thriller The Long Night for Emmett Fura and Oasis Films. In The Long Night from screenwriter Doug Wolf, two ruthless criminals break into a disgraced doctor's home to be given medical attention after one of them is shot during a robbery gone wrong. Knowing that he lacks the expertise to patch up the injured trespasser, the doctor must protect his family at all costs.
Well, that sounds generic.
I mean, again, if it was set all one night in this house, I could see this being done well with the right talent behind it. Unfortunately, Bruce Willis has done nothing but direct-to-video crap for a while now, so I have to assume that this is just going to be kind of...
What was his last good movie? Like, properly good movie. Gotta be going back at least a decade, right?
Oh, at least. I mean... Yeah, decent-ish movies towards the end of the last decade. I feel that... I mean, some people would say Looper. I don't know if I'd jump on board with that.
I like Looper more than you do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably the last one that I really liked with him as part of the leading roles.
If we're going to count Expendables 2, I'll say that.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan, so...
The last great Bruce Willis starring film is probably Unbreakable, is the sad truth.
Yeah.
What a high note to go out on. That was a fantastic movie. Anyway.
Yeah, it would be if you retired after that. But instead you continue making shit for 20 years.
Someone's going to tell us about a Bruce Willis film from the last 15 years that was actually quite good and we just didn't realise it. But, I mean, I can't think of any.
By all means, tell us a good movie to watch.
Ethan Hawke has signed out to direct a feature iteration of the 1953 Tennessee Williams play Camino Real, after having previously starred as Kilroy in the stage production of the Williamson Theatre Festival in 1999. So Passage Pictures is on board to produce the film. It's co-written by Hawke and writer-composer Shelby Gaines. Oscar-winning French actress Juliette Binoche is known for roles in films such as Three Colors Blue, The English Patient, and Let the Sun Shine In. Is going to star in it, the adaptation. The play is centered on a quasi-nihilistic, surreal, isolated town in a tropical climate where its characters confront their existence and propose an essential dreamlike narrative of love and burlesque dancing.
Okay. I didn't see that ending coming.
Yeah, I have no idea what this is. It's probably... Juliette Binoche likes to do weird movies, so I feel like this is probably going to be weird.
Probably. Yeah.
That's my guess. Okay. Next up, Michael Shannon has boarded a film called Swing, a romantic coming-of-age drama set in the world of elite varsity rowing. Howard Deutsch from The Replacements and Pretty in Pink is going to direct it. You like Pretty in Pink, there you go. You're on board.
Sure.
You're excited. He's directing with principal photography set for September in New Jersey. So, written by Vojin Gaja, former armor officer in the United States Army, the screenplay is based on his experiences as an oarsman at Columbia University. The story is said to be in the tradition of Friday Night Lights and Dead Poets Society. Set in 1999, it centers on a group of friends and crew teammates in the last year of college where lives are changed forever when a Vietnam vet, played by Shannon, takes over as coach of their dysfunctional team.
Yeah, I mean, could be fun.
I think what they did there was really wise was compare it to a couple of other films.
Yeah.
To give us a sense of tone.
Yeah, I think you had to because it's a film about a bunch of rowers. That's real compelling. We all care about that. Yeah, I mean, I can kind of see this. This feels a little bit prototypical. I can kind of see where it's going. I assume the beats it's going to hit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they'll help reintegrate Shannon into society a bit. He'll help them grow up a bit. Yeah, but it could be good enough.
All right. Here's your favorite director, Roland Emmerich, is working on a new film.
Can we just skip this one? Just get on to something more interesting.
Mm-hmm. He was making a World War II film last year, which is coming out this year. But now he's working on a sci-fi film called Moonfall. It is a $150 million budget action sci-fi movie, which makes
Why do they keep giving him a budget?
Well, this is the interesting thing, is that his World War II film, Midway, was the largest, or to put it correctly, was the biggest budgeted independent film, and Moonfall is likely going to top it. This will be 150 million independent film.
So no one's giving him the money. He's having to do it himself.
Well, no. That doesn't.
Well, I mean, it's being financed.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that. It means he's finding financiers and backers. But
yeah, but it's not studios going, all right.
It's not Fox. It's not Sony. It's not.
That was my point there. Because I started by going, why are they still giving him money? They're not.
Yeah. So it's an action sci-fi about an unlikely band of misfits who must save mankind when the moon falls out of orbit and hurls towards the Earth. The previously set up at Universal. So Universal were on board at one point and decided.
And then he asked for too much and went, "Piss off, mate."
Yeah. So production's going to start early next year, and as
Until this World War II movie does it terribly, and then they pull production and go, "Do you know what? This is a bad idea."
Oh, maybe we'll see. Maybe he's trying to be more of an auteur now. Maybe he's trying to do some different things.
Did you just use the word auteur to describe Roland Emmerich?
Hey, Godzilla 1998 is like a transcendent experience, alright? Kathy Yan set her next directorial outing. Obviously, she's doing Birds of Prey, but she's set up her next thing, which is a film called Sour Hats. Sorry, Sour Hearts. Look, there's so many plot descriptions to read on this news, alright? My voice is struggling at this point. Sour Hearts. It's a film based on a short story collection by Jenny Zhang, who will co-write the screenplay alongside Yan. Although now I want to see a film called Sour Hats. This is an A24 film, and it's a coming-of-age story about the immigrant experience from the perspective of children and parents. Set in the boroughs of New York City in the 1990s, the story is portrayed through the point of view of a young girl whose parents relocated from Shanghai as her family tried to work and reach into the middle-class status. So,
sounds fine, but it's no Sour Hat.
It's no Sour Hats. Next up, Chris Hemsworth is teaming up with Girls Trip's Tiffany Haddish on Down Undercover, a two-hander buddy cop action comedy that has been mounted in the spirit of films like 48 Hours, Rush Hour, and The Heat. It feels weird to put The Heat into that list, but whatever. Script by Peter Hoer. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Well, I got the first name right, obviously.
I should bloody hope so.
So, in Down Undercover, Hemsworth will play a detective who goes undercover to crack a series of baffling casino heists in which the prime suspects are a troupe of Australian male erotic dancers. He's forced to take the partner no one else will, Haddish's character, a lone wolf who does things her own way. Hers. I don't really need to add on that part there, but for the record, it says hers.
I like the idea, her own way. His way.
As opposed to what?
Yeah, I know.
Oh dear. I mean, he's good at comedy, Hemsworth. So
yes, he is.
Yeah, and I suspect he might have his natural accent in this if we're going to be calling it Down Undercover.
Yeah, I will assume he's not actually playing an Australian,
but he'll do an accent.
He has to put the accent on. And they'll have fun with that. They're like, they'll be like, oh, you're pretty good at this, and they'll play all those jokes like they usually do.
Maybe terrible, but he can be quite funny, so we'll see it. I'll give the title some props because the title actually has some charm as opposed to some of the crap.
I appreciate that. I knew that. Okay, it's undercover, but we're in Australia. Yeah. I got that.
We may not be in Australia because if it's the Australian trip moving through somewhere, but
Australians were relevant.
Yeah. You're not getting points for guessing that. This isn't the Leftovers where you just randomly guess season 3 would be in Australia. This is clearly implying
my greatest prediction ever.
Next up, John Madden from Shakespeare in Love is on board to direct Colin Firth in a World War II story called Operation Mincemeat. Set in 1943, when the Allies were determined to launch an all-out assault on Fortress Europe, the film will follow two brilliant intelligence officers, Ewan Montagu, played by Firth, and Charles Cholmondeley. That's a hell of a name.
Power through it.
Yeah, who dream up an inspired and improbable disinformation strategy to help the cause. I like the title. Operation Mincemeat sounds...
It's a good title. I probably don't care to ever see the movie.
Depends. If it has the right tone in the trailer, I might be a bit more on board.
Fair enough. I mean, it could convince me. It's just very unlikely.
It's like that one we talked about the last time with the inflatable tanks. I'm like, yeah, this might actually be better.
That was so ridiculous that I wanted to see it. Like, that was right. Okay, this is over the top. That's interesting.
All right. Next up, Jamie Bell's set to star in a World War II thriller called Dynamite Room. Now, before you make your face, I actually think this is actually just more of a thriller that happens to be set during World War II, as opposed to being a war movie.
Okay.
I think I'll be more on board with this.
I feel like we've spoken about World War II a lot already.
This is literally the second World War II story.
Exactly, and that's a lot.
Set during July 1940, the story opens when a 12-year-old evacuee, Lydia, walking through a village in rural England on a baking hot day. She is wearing a gas mask. The shops and houses are empty, the windows boarded up, and the village seemingly deserted. Leaving it behind, she arrives at a large house by the marshes, the house she grew up in. Lydia finds it empty too, and her family gone. Late that night comes Hayden, played by Bell, a soldier, gun in hand, and heralding a full-blown German invasion. There are, he explains, certain rules she must now follow. He won't kill Lydia, but she cannot leave the house. Is he telling the truth? What is he looking for? Why is he so familiar? And how does he already know Lydia's name?
The most unbelievable thing there is a baking hot day in England in July, because English summer is never in July. Everyone knows that.
Yeah, but global warming has happened since then, so things have changed. I like the sound of this actually because it's very much like a twofer where it's this guy and a kid, and he's claiming he's a German and he's claiming that there's an invasion coming. And we know that's not true though, because we have this perspective of being in the future. So
I'm glad you pointed that out to me.
Yeah. So I like this idea of like her having to like realize that and like try and get away and like who is he? What's it like? Because to me this is just set in World War II. It's not the focus of it. Thematically it might be about World War II, but it's not a war movie.
No, I would be shocked if this turned into one somehow.
So I don't know. I guess I'm still more positive than you are, but
yeah, I mean, I said earlier in the show that like a lot of these thrillers on paper don't usually interest me that much. They all kind of sound like. That bit at the end of this where it's asking all the questions. Who is he? What's the relationship? What does he want? I'm like, I can label that on at least half of the thrillers that exist. And, that's fine. Some of them are very good movies, but it just doesn't interest me on paper. I have to see it.
Next up, Evangeline Lilly, who of course is from Lost, most recently been in some of the Avengers and Ant-Man movies. She's going to be in Happy Life with Ike Barinholtz. They're going to play a married couple. It's a comedy coming from Mindy Project writer and producer David Stressen. Stressen wrote the script and will direct the film as his debut film. So it's going to begin shooting this summer. It follows new mom Alison Beck, who suspects her workaholic husband Eli of having an affair with an Instagram star. One mistake after another leads her into the arms of a younger man as she struggles to come to terms with her life decisions and the mother she aspires to be. It's going to start shooting in the summer.
Let me guess, he wasn't having an affair.
It's a comedy, so I think that's a fair assumption to make.
Yeah. I mean, I'd never watched any Mindy Project, so I don't know the style of humor.
Do you know what's funny? If you hadn't told me that was a comedy, that would sound like a really quirky, like depressing drama.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah, but they're telling me it's a comedy, so I have to make some assumptions here.
That said, maybe it could be what they're interpreting as quirky.
Sure.
They're calling a comedy.
Sure, yeah. I can see that. Next up, Elizabeth Moss from The Handmaid's Tale is going to star with a Benedict Cumberbatch. Did I say his name weird there? Did I say a Benedict, not the Benedict Cumberbatch, a Benedict Cumberbatch?
You're doing a little bit, yeah.
Are in place
I
to star.
You think that it should be the Benedict Cumberbatch, not just Benedict Cumberbatch. He is the Benedict Cumberbatch.
They're in place to star in a film adaptation of Thomas Savage's 1967 novel *The Power of the Dog*, which is coming from Jane Campion, who's going to direct it. The project will be presented by Buyers at Cannes. As a lot of these will be, to be honest, the ones I've been talking about. The story follows wealthy Montana brothers Phil, played by Cumberbatch, and George, they're the Burbank brothers, and there are two sides of the same coin. Phil is graceful, brilliant, and cruel, whereas George is solid, fastidious, and gentle. Together, they are the joint owners of the biggest ranch in the Montana Valley. It is a place where men are still men, the rapidly modernizing 20th century is kept at bay, and where the figure of Bronco Henry, the greatest cowboy Phil ever knew, is revered. When George secretly marries a local widow, played by Moss, a shocked and angry Phil wages a sadistic, relentless war to destroy her entirely, using her effeminate son Peter as his pawn.
Okay.
I'm so glad Connor's on this show because he gives me so much in response every time I tell him it's on.
You've got the benefit of having read these at some point. I'm processing.
Moss is a really good actress.
He is. Cumberbatch is great.
Cumberbatch is good. I think I like the idea of Cumberbatch playing a complete and utter dickhead in this.
Cumberbatch.
Cumbersatch. Cabbage Patch.
You're just struggling with his name today.
Cumberbatch.
I think that it'll be very well acted. Just not that interested in the concept, I guess.
I think this one will probably be. I can see this having like a good trailer, and it'll just look like a good, sort of. I'll call it a dark drama.
Yeah.
It
could be good. I don't get me wrong, but it doesn't appeal to me.
All right, Connor's enthusiasm throughout this show has been burnt.
I have been enthusiastic about at least 3 things.
Every so often we get a comment from one of our viewers, Mako, who always sarcastically comments on how great the enthusiasm coming from Connor is. I feel like this will be another prime target.
Well, will be now.
This takes us on to the horror movie news section. We are moving on to the final portion of the show. You'll be delighted to hear, everyone.
I'm ready to hear about the generic horror movie.
Well, Spyglass Media Group has announced their first project since launching back in March. They are fast-tracking a remake of Clive Barker's Hellraiser. And
oh, yes.
David S. Goyer is going to produce and write it, which is not good news.
I'm sorry, I'm not having passion for this one.
You can have negative passion, it doesn't have to be positive.
I mean, I could. I don't rate the original Hellraiser.
Hellraiser is a great movie. No,
I think it's a decent movie. I think it's pretty solid. I don't think it's as good as other people seem to think it is.
No, Connor's wrong. The original Hellraiser is a great movie. It is one that's gotten better every time I've seen it, and Tim agrees with that.
It's a decent movie that is overrated.
You shut your mouth hole. Stop words from coming out. So. Hellraiser, of course. I want to read this description they give of Hellraiser because I actually think it's wrong. Because it says, over 3 decades, Hellraiser franchise spawned, 10 films, graphic novels, merchandise, blah, blah, blah. The original movie was based on Barker's novella, The Hellbound Heart, and it followed the resurrection of Frank, who opens a door to another dimension and saw his body destroyed by the Cenobites, who are creatures from hell that grant sadomasochistic pleasures to those who call upon them. The most notable of them is Pinhead, who is the face of Hellraiser. Years later, Frank's brother Larry moves into their late mother's abandoned house with his new wife Julia. He has an accident which triggers Frank's resurrection and soon enables the Cenobites to come forth again. I think this is slightly misleading, the last part of this description, because it implies that the Cenobites are the main villain of the movie, and they're not at all. Frank's the villain of the movie. The Cenobites are like third parties who are just vaguely interested.
I suspect this is very telling of what Goya's interpretation will be.
Yeah, it's just going to be Pinhead's the bad guy, and whereas in the movie that's not entirely true at all. He's just like he's not a good guy, but he's not like he's kind of like this like
he's a facilitator.
He's lawful evil.
Yeah,
kind of thing. So that's kind of weird.
No, I suspect this is Goya's interpretation being that yes, it's going to be Pinhead is the villain. We're going to focus on that.
Goyer is going to make a travesty here. He's not directing, at least, because I did see the movie he directed, which was The Unborn, and that was
it that bad? And I obviously never decided to see it.
It was terrible. He has been involved in some good things here or there, but it's always like another filmmaker's able, like Christopher Nolan kind of fixed what he does. It makes it work. A lot of his stuff not so hot, so I am not looking forward to this in any way, shape, or form.
No, I wouldn't be either.
And like the original film, like a lot of the charm comes from the excellent prosthetic effects. It comes from a lot of things. Like you take that away, and I don't like. Anyway, perhaps more interesting, we know we're getting a new Invisible Man. Elizabeth Moss is already on board. Lee Wannell's directing. The two parts of news here this time is that Wrinkle in Time star Storm Reid has joined the cast, and then the second news is that we actually have a plot description now, because we didn't really know what the tactic, what the direction of this movie was going to be, like how it was going to handle it. So here's the synopsis plus a description of Reid's character. The film follows Cecilia, played by Moss, who receives the news of her abusive ex-husband's suicide. She begins to rebuild her life for the better. However, her sense of reality is put into question when she begins to suspect that her deceased lover is not actually dead. So, what I like about this is that it kind of takes the premise of the Invisible Man, but makes the protagonist the
normal person.
The normal person, yeah, the love interest who, he's an abusive ex-boyfriend, so he's a horrible person. So this idea of this invisible ex-boyfriend stalking her, I'm like, okay, this is a horror movie. I can see how this is a horror movie full on this time.
Yeah, it makes him the villain.
Yeah, and he always kind of was, but it was almost you're still always following it from his perspective, so it was always kind of funny.
And it was arguably a little more sympathetic in the sense that because we were with him, it was hard to see him as the villain, right?
Reid will play the character of Sydney. With her mother gone, she's picked up the maternal slack and is very capable of mature for her age. She's an outgoing lover of fashion who aspires to see the world, and she initially likes having Cecilia around as a role model, but grows mistrustful of her when strange things begin to happen around the house. So, it's another character who's going to be there. So,
yeah, sure.
I'm liking the sound of this.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good.
And Wannell's other directed film is Insidious 3, which I actually thought was kind of solid. So
I like it. Yeah, I mean, I think we're maybe in the minority. I feel like a lot of people don't, but I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's better than the second one.
Yeah, I like it better than the second one as well. We're not getting a new Purge this year, but we're getting one next year. The 5th Purge movie is coming. It's been dated for July 10th, 2020. And interestingly, though, one, it's going to be in the same day as Ghostbusters, so we'll see if one of them moves. And then secondly, James DeMonico, who created the franchise, has directed some, has written, I think, all of them, will be writing the next one. And it sounds like he wants the next one to be the last one. It sounds like he wants to go out and quote-unquote a high.
Is it called The Final Purge?
It's not got a title yet, but it wouldn't surprise me if it does end up getting called that.
I'll put money on that.
The Final Purge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it. Next up, Brad Anderson from The Call is attached to direct horror film Book of Leaves, which The Exchange will be launching in Cannes next week. The original screenplay by Jonathan Hirschbein, The Fix, he did, centers on a single mother and former nun who has lost her faith. When she is hired by the Vatican's General Council to appraise a 17th century monastery in ruins with a dark and violent past, she discovers a deadly ancient manuscript called the Book of Leaves. I'm getting some serious The Nun vibes from this, and I don't like it.
I never saw that, so I don't know. What is... It doesn't give us anything to go on about what the Book of Leaves summons, what it is, right? Is it...
It'll be supernatural, whatever it is.
Yeah, but I mean, are we talking demons? Are we talking possession?
We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah.
Not feeling it. Fun enough, I mentioned Maggie Grace earlier from Taken and Lost. She has been cast in a film called Incident on 459, which, again, at Cannes for getting sellers, getting buyers. So Kevin Grutert, if I'm probably mispronouncing that, is directing the film from Chris Sparling's script. The story centers on the discovery of a demon-possessed passenger on a transatlantic flight from Boston to London, leaving it up to the rest of the passengers to figure out how to survive before crashing or being blown up by the Air Force. Grace, Grace's character, she's going to play Valerie, a psychologist and single mother with a special needs son who is on the flight. Her ex-boyfriend is also on the plane. Okay, now we're getting some Hollywood bullshit here.
Yeah.
Forcing the pair to set aside their differences to figure out how to deal with the demon. Valerie's values and beliefs are tested to the limit as she must come to terms with the supernatural and which cannot be explained. I have to admit, I do like the core concept of shit, someone is possessed on a plane.
Yeah, that was fun. And then it got to the family drama bollocks.
And that might not even be because sometimes you'll read that and it's like, how much is it going to focus on this? That could just be like a quick setup. It's just there to give us some characters, and then from there it doesn't really matter. It's just about dealing with it.
It could be, yeah.
Or it could just bog the whole movie down because they're constantly going, oh, the X and I still love you.
That's the fear, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see the ending being they made it out alive and they get back together because, well, they've seen some shit now.
Nah, one of them sacrifices himself. So the ex-boyfriend lets himself go to save everyone. So he's redeemed in her eyes. That's my call.
Is the question: is this the father of the kid?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't actually say, to be honest, but
I mean that was the assumption.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm just wondering how that plays into that interaction.
Oh, I have made a slight boo-boo.
What have you done?
I might have put a story that wasn't for the horror section in the horror section.
You're a terrible person.
I wonder if it's because the director I know from a horror movie. Maybe I, did this subconsciously. So, from the producers of Fast and the Furious comes a new action. It's a remake of Cliffhanger.
Oh yeah, that's what we're all waiting for.
Directed by Annalie Ampur from The Girl Who Walks Home Alone at Night.
I'm more interested.
Yes, it's going to be the female spin on it. It's going to have a female lead as opposed to Stallone. So freshly taken 1993 film. It's heading to Cannes, and that's basically that. The director talked about it's going to be a thrill ride. We're going to have this badass lead character and all that. Sasha Penn, who wrote Creed 2, is writing the script.
Okay, I never saw that, but I mean it was, by all accounts, solid enough.
So there you go. The one weird line here, they add in that Jason Momoa is in talks for a key cameo.
A what?
A key cameo.
So a role.
A small role.
Yes, but it's not a cameo if it's important. That's just casting.
Unless it's like literally one scene, in which case I guess we could call it a cameo.
I hate this phrase.
Yeah. Alright, so that's the last real news. There's one item left I put in for some fun here because I thought this was amusing.
Oh god, what is it?
Have you ever heard of Tammy and the T-Rex?
No, and I'm glad I haven't.
It's a film that came out in 1994. It starred Denise Richards playing a teenager along with her boyfriend Paul Walker. And the plot of the film is that Paul Walker gets experimented on or is killed, but his brain is put inside this animatronic T-Rex.
Of course it is.
This is one of those movies that's developed a bit of a cult following for being so bad it's good. It is full on weird and insanity. Just to spoil like the final ending, is Tammy has his brain no longer in the T-Rex, in like a jar that's keeping him alive, and does a striptease for him in front of the brain.
How's he watching this?
He's got eyes.
Are you sure, or are you just saying that?
Either he's got eyes or he's connected to something that is acting his eyes. But there was that he can see things. He's seeing throughout the whole movie.
Are you sure? Have you seen this movie, or are you just?
I have seen several in-depth clips. I've never watched the thing from start to finish.
Oh well, I think that's something that you need to do one day.
It's not a horror movie though, so it's not Screams After Midnight material.
I know. I can't make you have Tim watch it as well.
No. Arguably, it could be done you could call this sci-fi, I suppose.
I mean, T-Rex is
mad scientists putting a brain.
Mad scientists, brains. Yeah.
So it's a teen.
You may Tara suffer through it.
It's a romantic teen movie where one of the guy gets his head put in a brain, and there's a lot of jokes about him not being able to reach things as a T-Rex. And
I think this is an ideal choice for a bonus pick.
There's a laughable like effects. Because obviously this animatronic T-Rex, right, going around, and at one point he's trying to like use the phone, like a payphone, and instead of the animatronic hand coming in to like hit the dial, it's clearly just someone's hand in like a sleeve with like a T-Rex hand coming in, and it doesn't match how the T-Rex looks. It just like it's insane. Anyway, the news here, believe it or not, in 2019, is that a new R-rated gore cut of this movie is going to be screened for the first time ever at Cinepocalypse in Chicago.
Why not?
A 35mm print for the first time ever is going to be screened, and it's R-rated. And why is there even an R-rated version of this in existence? This was clearly meant to be, because this came out in 1994. This came out a year after Jurassic Park. They were banking on some Jurassic Park hype.
Yeah, obviously.
That's what they were doing. I don't know.
This is a weird story.
It's a weird story, but it was so weird I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to bring it up.
Fine. As long as it's led to you making Tara watch it with you for the ace, I'm okay with that.
Oh, all right. That's the news. We've done it. All 16 pages.
Oh, and pretty much
one.
on schedule.
Pretty much. Let us know, of course, of the items that we've talked about, what you think of them, by all means. We should promote other movie content. Patrons right now just got the 2014 Godzilla film as an influx. You can go check out that.
Yeah.
Everyone else will get that next Friday. And Public just got Breakfast Club, a review of the Breakfast Club. That was a Patreon vote winner, so you can check out that
which got more heated than you'd think.
It did. So you've got those to check out. And of course, we mentioned The Ace, which is a sci-fi movie podcast. That goes up every week now, as well as the bonus movie on Patreon once a month. Same as Screams After Midnight, the horror movie podcast, again every week, but as a bonus movie on Patreon every month. You can check out all those shows. You all have audio feeds that are all on our YouTube channel, MailFuzz TV. But of course, I mentioned Patreon, patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. If you want to support us financially, you can do that for as little as $1 per month. $1 a month will get you those bonus episodes. $5 will get you voting rights in various shows. And there's other things as well, so go check out that. Like, subscribe, all the usual things. Rate us on the iTunes podcast app and all that kind of stuff to help the show out and spread us around to more people like a happy disease. So, well, it's called going viral. I mean,
yeah,
the comparison's there to be made.
Yes, I suppose it is.
So, happy disease. But that is us. So, thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching movies, guys. And remember, if you can get it, it's always nice to have diplomatic immunity.